guys ran and jumped into a truck. I reached in the truck. I grabbed their keys out. The guy was saying, "I'm gonna get my gun." And so the first thing I did was I grabbed his keys out, and then I grabbed where his hand was to see if there was a gun in there. He said he had his reaching for a gun, and then he did this whole show. You know, I got my gun, and you know, he didn't have a gun. So then I said, "Get out of the car." He got out of the car, and I said, "Just wait here, or you guys can fight. You can either fight us, or you can put your hands against the wall." They were like, "Okay." There's only 4 of us, and there's 4 of them. And so then we said, okay, to the ladies, we see they're bleeding, right? Their faces are bleeding. And so and 2 of them are crying, like bawling hysterically. So and we carry first aid kits. We start giving first aid to them. We go, "Listen, you 2 have to go to the hospital. They're like bad. They have major gashes." And there's 2 that are okay. So the 2 that have gashes, they have another friend that's going to take them to the hospital. And these 2 are going to stay and make the statement, right? Because we're going to call police. You know, so the 4 guys are compliant. They got their hands against the wall. We go get the police officer coming to the top of the hill. This is right next to the Renaissance Center, right downtown. It's not out in the country somewhere in Afghanistan. This is right down here in America. So the police come to the scene, and I go, "Okay, sir, we have the witnesses. We're bleeding victims." And they are. You know, because they always say that, you know, police always say, "Well, so if we had statements and we had people willing to tell, snitch, they would snitch." Snitching is what criminals do when they are doing crime and want to tell the other person doing crime. That's not what you want from families. You just want them to tell what happened, and they will tell you if you just ask them and give them safety. But you can't ask them for information, then not protect those people that you're asking to be witness, right? Anyway, so make a long story short, the police officer looks over and he says, "Okay, we got this." So, you know, the guy's getting upset. He pushes the officer back. One of the criminals pushes, they come off the wall. They start talking to the cops. They're like, "Look, we just want to go." And so they push one of the police officers, and the police officer says, "Don't ever touch me." And he takes his hand, and he swipes the criminal's hands off of him, right? And he says, "Just, you know, never touch a police officer, ever." And the guy said, "Don't walk up with my boy like that, asking him for his ID." None of these guys have ID. They're driving a car. There's 4 girls bleeding. 2 of them want to make a statement. They've said this is the guys who attacked us. And they're right here in downtown America, not in some country, far away from here. And so, so the officer looks over and goes, "Okay, that's it. You know what? You guys get out of here. Just leave." And so I'm like this, and I went, "Sir, we have victims. They're bleeding, and I don't think you're supposed to let them go." He goes, I said, I don't think we're supposed to let them go." I said the word "we," right? Bond. Yeah. Bond. Yeah. You don't want to be adversarial. I was like, "Can we do that? Are we allowed to just let people go with their bleeding victims?" He was like, "Look, just give them the keys." I go, "What keys will those be, sir? Because those keys are gone." He said, "The keys, just give them the keys." I said, "Well, I don't know what keys you're talking about, because I don't have any keys." Because I was going to throw the keys in the river. Yeah. I didn't make it to the river yet, but it's not too far. The least I can do for you breaking girls' heads open is at least throw your keys in the river. Right? Yeah. By the way, this car is in the hands of young men who apparently appear to me to be some type of clique of people doing inappropriate things. And the car they're in has factory rims. Factory rims. They're out doing mayhem, and it's like 1 key. There's no set of keys. There's 1 key. They're doing mayhem, and there's factory rims in the car. This is probably not their car. They probably just robbed someone and carjacked them and took this car. They have no ID on them. There's no paperwork for the car, nothing. And the officer's telling me to give them the keys back so they can leave. And I looked at the officer, I don't know what you're talking about. He literally got in my face and yelled at me to give the keys back and do it now. I'm not going to tell you again. I was like, "Oh, okay, tough guy. Here you go. There you go. Give the criminals back their keys." He gave them the keys, and they left laughing.
No way.
The girls are bawling.
No
there's nothing I can say. I just have to let that go. This is one of 100 stories like that. That's why it's hard for me. I have to keep my composure when they start talking to these different conferences I go to, and they're like, "We're going to do the following things for public safety. We're going to..." Shut up. I was there. I've been there in many different jurisdictions. You're not going to do anything different yet tomorrow that you did yesterday until they have a different philosophy. Once they have a different philosophy, a different doctrine they're going to follow, then they can actually have a different outcome. But right now, what they don't tell you is the reality of their circumstance. They have less than 6 months of training. Imagine you go from kicking rocks to making life and death decisions under any conditions in less than 6 months. I don't even think you can be a cable installer in less than 6 months, right? And this guy is, they're just walking around. It's less than 6 months. That's how long it is. And so when you think about it, how could you possibly know a skill craft that's that serious in less than 6 months? So it's almost, if you think about it that way, it's a setup for the police officer and their family as well. They're victims of a situation that doesn't make sense. You are supposed to talk with authority and as though you know something, but you only had 6 months of training. You can't be a black belt in 6 months of karate classes. But somehow you're supposed to be some kind of super armed ninja that goes into unknown areas with unknown numbers of criminals, with unknown types of weapons. Special Forces, by the way, does not do that. There's lots of intel gathering before they go and do things. You don't just go like on television, like go over there. They don't do that. They like take satellite photos. The police, they just go, hey, there's an address, got some gunshots going over there. So one cop I know, as big as this door, and a comedian was, his weightlifting was way more important than his training here. And, you know, it comes to a head here where I can't let you, you know, be with us training without training. The reason why we've never had court dates in 20 years is because of our system. It's not because there's no violence or there's no situations. It's because we know how to manage them psychologically and physically, so we decrease the likelihood of having a court date. And these officers couldn't understand that. Make a long story short, he goes to the scene of gunshots fired at an abandoned house here in Detroit. 5 officers allegedly are shot, and he's killed by this super thug that apparently is supposed to have shot from inside the house, then came outside, stood over top and shot again, and then ran in the back and shot someone else. Meanwhile, there's like 6 cops there altogether that apparently didn't shoot him at all. And at the back of the house, they shot him in the butt, handcuffed him to the fence, and then left a loaded gun sitting next to him. I said, wow, these are like the nicest police in the whole world. Because if you shoot 6 nuns and there's one nun there and she has a gun, she's probably going to shoot you right now. You just shot 6 nuns, right? But they're saying these cops did, you know, this is what happened. This is what really happened. It was probably more like the officers shot themselves. And then, you know, they don't want to admit that, but that's...
And then they shot each other?
Yeah, they crossfired, and, you know, it's probably the whole thing from top to bottom was them shooting each other. Wow. So what happens if you don't practice and you all have your guns out and, you know, and then all of a sudden something happens and next thing you know, people start just shooting. And then my friend, this officer probably turned and, you know, probably when he heard the shot, turned and he got shot. Here's what I know for a fact. There's no one person that's going to shoot 5 cops sitting at a house and not get shot himself, and that's just not possible. So these are things that they go through, and without the training, without the knowledge, they're going to continue to go through those situations. Well, another reason why we have our training for them is so that they can stop having false positives, viewing everyone as a target, using force when it's not necessary, thinking that they're more important than the people that they're supposed to be protecting. You can never be more important than the people that depend on you. And so imagine, and I'm in the corporate community section, if any of my personnel think they're more important than the people that we're here to help, then I get rid of them the moment they show me that. We look at how to develop those attributes so you don't show the outward manifestations of a person who self-preserves. And then we actually constantly work at honing that skill of you letting go of yourself and make sure you view other people as more important than you. You have to do that if you're going to protect anyone. And that's one of the cornerstone issues. So when you look at law enforcement, remember that they have an ideology, a philosophy that's inappropriate. So judging the officer, remember that the officer is just part of a group and a group think. So they might be a really good person, you know, over here, but once they're in the group think, they don't realize this. Just like when you're in some type of negative group think, how would you pause that? You're part of a group think. You know, sort of like the college kids who get excited about a basketball game or football game and go flipping cars, flipping police cars. Doesn't mean they would normally do that, but today, due to the win or loss, anything's possible. And so that's where psychology is so vital, and that's where we focus on that as the foundation. So when you look at this organization, remember that the overall purpose is to help the world be a safer place, do it through nonviolent strategies, tactics, and logistics. So the way we use equipment is specifically for that too. If you see us at night, you'll see our vehicles driving through neighborhoods. We have lights that are shining from the vehicle out into the neighborhood. We don't wait till the criminals attack a family and then turn lights on. We have lights on first. And people go, well, how are we going to catch them? And we go, we're not. Because we're not going to do anything to get caught. See, when they see us from a mile away, they know we're coming. And guess what we're going to do when we come over here? We're going to come back. Yeah, and then we're going to come back again. And we're going to keep coming back. So what happens is there's no opportunity. If you produce conditions where there's an opportunity for negative outcomes, you're going to have the negative outcome. So prevention is everything. And prosecution and catching people who've done bad things, that is you not properly managed. That's we as a society not properly managing our situations of safety. And that's key too, is that we have to really change the way we look at situations. We don't want kids getting attacked in schools. We have to protect them to and from school and while they're in school. I know it's rocket science, but you don't search for a gun inside of a school. You know what you might find if you search for a gun inside the school? A gun inside the school. And then you don't want that. So this kid comes into school here in Detroit, and the lady says, this is someone's grandma we're supposed to be protecting. She's a security person. She says, hey, what's that in your leg? He goes, oh, this? It's a shotgun. And he pulls it out. The metal detector's right here. It beeps. She says, what is that in your pants? He goes, it's a shotgun. He pulls it out. And that's the whole plan. That's the end of the plan. She didn't need the metal detector. She could see there was something in his pants. So you're going to save $1 million. Someone's grandma could see that you have a shotgun in your pants. And then that's the end of the plan. Because you know there's other kids there. So the part where you shoot back, if they shoot, that's not even realistic. If they really want to stop that, they should have had a building that you have to go through before you even get to the school part where the kids are, and that's where they search for weapons, not where the kids are. You don't go into a building and then say you can't have a weapon here. It's like saying you can't have a bomb on a plane you're already on, right? Where do they search for bombs and guns? At an airport, way far away from the aircraft. You can't even see an aircraft. That's how far away you are, right? So the same philosophies that exist for protecting aircraft travelers are the same thing we should be using to protect kids. Instead of trying to say, well, you know, if you kill kids, we'll go prosecute you. Or if they disappear on the way to school. We shouldn't create conditions where the kids can disappear on the way to school. What made them less valuable than your money? There's no such thing as, well, my money was going, I put money here at this bus stop, like $10,000, and I don't know how it didn't, you know, make it on the bus. A kid costs more than $10,000, but you would never leave $10,000 cash at a bus stop. And so we're still acting like human life is not valuable. And so until we change that thought process, we're not going to be able to create the next evolution of change, which is having, you know, less violence. So we're creating our own violent situation by creating conditions which leads to negativity, negative outcomes. And